Hey everybody, it's Andy aka Max Writer. We are back with another author showcase. I think that's what I call these. I really should check before I actually start recording, shouldn't I? This time we are looking at the Sosnovka Raid. Now this one has been recently released on DriveThruRPG through the Miskatonic Repository. It is a Soviet World War II scenario. This one deals with the 588th Night Bomber Regiment, otherwise known as the Night Witches. Takes place in the Caucasus, and we've got a brand new binder because I filled up the last one with my scenarios. So let's take a look at this real quick. First thing we've got is just a little list of some of the other stuff I've done. Here's our title page. Our art is Carrie Korea. That she is or Korea. She did what little art that I actually commissioned for this one. There's one other piece that I had to do some annotations for because it's not public domain, but it is usable. So there we go. A couple quotes. We got Lovecraft. Here are my playtesters. We've got a very tight table of contents here, along with a little some Russian propaganda, or Soviet propaganda poster. The forward talks about the 588th. I kind of grew fascinated with them when I learned about this regiment of women who would go out in antiquated biplanes and drop anything they could find. Well, that's not true. If they ran out of bombs, they would drop anything they could find on the Germans. On page 7, we get started in with the Sosnovka Raid, or That Which Eternal Lies. I originally wrote this in February of 2016 for to run at a LAN party / game event at Appalachian State University, and then I took March and I revised it, expanded it, and fixed it up, and I think it turned out pretty nice. I'm very proud of this one. We've got our introduction. Keeper's information goes into the history of what's happening in Sosnovka and who our villains are. Then we go into player information. We got some more information on the 588 that you can let your players know. Got some of the ranks of the 588 that are common, actually all of them pretty much. And then the Polikarpov PO2, or the Polikarpov Avrushka, which is the biplane. We got some information on that goes on to the next page. The crews are listed here. We've got just a list of the 6 player characters, essentially, the investigators. And then we go into some recent history of Russia and the Soviet Union, 500 and the 588th recent history. And I decided to go with Chaosium's kind of layout. So our dramatis personae is here, and I've given some quick descriptions of the main characters who show up, or NPCs. And then we're into, on page 13, as the actual scenario begins. There's no locale for this one that I put down because you find out about Sosnovka once you get there. So I decided not to go into, hey, here's this, here, and this, here, and this, here, and this, here. As this is a World War II mission, essentially, the surroundings are a lot less important, I feel like, than the actual target. With the mission, we start with a background and briefing. Something interesting happens during takeoff. There is, we've got just something here short about the flight, and then we're on to the Sosnovka Raid. There are some very, very, very basic rules, allowing the player characters to use their pilot aircraft and luck skills to see how they do in the bombing run, as well as a new skill, aerial gunnery, which basically is used to drop the bombs. These rules go all the way over. These are the main rules right here. There's a little bit more right in this section, and then it's into what happens during the actual bombing run. What if it all goes horribly wrong? So if all the aircraft get shot down, or half your crewmen are killed, this is just a little bit of advice on how to handle that. Obviously, they end up on the ground, and so there's a little. My playtesters actually tried to repair their aircraft, which is impossible at the time. And then we're into actual Sosnovka. I described Sosnovka here, a little tiny village in the Caucasus. Go into some more detail on the few marked locations in Sosnovka, as well as a couple places that aren't marked, but that the keeper can place that are going to make them the most convenient. Some advice on fleeing the village and trying to get out. Oh, I've got a page wrong here. That should be there. No wonder that was so confusing for me. Glad I looked for that. So fleeing the village, you've got some information. What if your airwomen are separated? Then the first major encounter, which is a light in the window, and the ability to get some information from some of the villagers. The terrible death of Private Stephen Simon shows what happens to one of the Germans in the town and what the investigators might be able to do about it. Crossing Town gives some more things that happen as they move around the village. The Villager Who Knows is yet another information encounter. There's quite a bit of information they can get from this guy. And German Survivors and the Dead is another section with some of the things they might find as they move about the village. The inn is described, as well as one of our NPCs, and the potential to escape the village in Kubelwagens or Opel Blitz 3.6 3-ton trucks. But in the long run, what they really want to do is search for the egg, which is the item that they really need to find in order to get out of this alive. We've got a ruined old Orthodox, Russian Orthodox church, as well as a mythos tome here. And then they're down into the crypts beneath the church. We've got our description of what's down there, some events that happen, what the possible ending of the story is with Koschei triumphant or Koschei defeated. And finally, what happens when they leave Sosnovka and return to the airbase. Sanity rewards, of course. Here's our afterward playtest notes, where I describe what happened in our when I ran the game. They're a bit extensive because this was kind of a lot happened in this game. Just a lot happened. Non-player character stats. Hold on. Whoops, sorry about that, dogs. These are separated from your stats for your Dramatis Personae, which is all the background stuff, and this is just the stats. Which I can see the use of that, but I've always been partial to keeping everything together. You've got a few more here. Then you've got a monster sheet for the Soglov, the main monsters, the new monsters for the scenario. These are actually Slavic mythological creatures. I've broken down some of the German weapons. You've got stats for all of these, as well as the Soviet weapons, which is only the Tokarev. There's the specifications for your Polikarpov PO2. That can be given to the player characters, just like all of this can just be kind of handed out to the player characters when they find certain weapons and stuff. We have a player's map of Sosnovka, as well as the keeper's map of Sosnovka, which has a little bit more detail in it. And then we're into handouts. Handout 1 talks about Koschei. Handout 2 is the Soglov, just information. And these aren't really they're physical handouts, but they're not really physical things. It's not like letters and stuff. It's just, here's what your character knows about this, or what they've read in fairy tale books. And here's what you know about the Soglov, and then this is the information on the Mythos Tome that you can give to you can cut this out, give it to the players, and they can just read it. We've got our pictures of our NPCs. Here's our pictures of our pre-gens. Here is a little information on the pre-gens so that everybody knows who's in the section. We've got a Soviet flag that you can cut out, hang from your keeper screen if you're playing a face-to-face game. And then we've got our 6 player characters, our 6 investigators. Lieutenant, I'm not going to read these names because I'll butcher them, but these 6 women are pilots and navigators of the 588th Night Bomber Regiment, as you can see here, and we've added a little Soviet star there. Finally, on the back page, a little bit about me. This is the picture that I had to do an attribution for it. I really loved this picture, and I really wanted to somehow include it. I thought the inside back page would be very nice. And then there is the back cover. So that is the Sosnovka Raid. It is up for sale at DriveThruRPG right now, and there's a little look at it in case you want to check this out before you buy. It is there it is. That's it. Sorry, I've been working really hard on this one for quite a while, it feels like, and I'm real happy with how it turned out. So I hope you enjoy it. Thanks for watching, everybody. As always, I appreciate it, and I will talk to y'all next time.